Hi, this is Dr. Sushma. Today we are going to learn about the classification of glands. So without any delay, let's get started. Glands can be classified into exocrine glands or endocrine glands. The glands that pour their secretions onto an epithelial surface directly or through the ducts are called as exocrine glands or externally secreting glands also. And some other glands are there which lose their contact with the epithelial surface from which they develop, and they pour their secretions directly into the blood without any presence of ducts. So such glands are called as endocrine glands or the internally secreting glands, or because of the absence of ducts, these are also called as ductless glands. Word endo and acto are of Greek origin, where endo means inside and acto means outside. In this slide, try to appreciate the developmental differences between an exocrine gland and an endocrine gland. In the picture above, we can see the exocrine gland develops as a solid bud from the epithelium into the underlying connective tissue. Soon it elongates, undergoes canalization, and displays a secretory and a conducting portion. The conducting part forms the duct and it is continuous with the epithelium. An endocrine gland also develops in a similar manner to exocrine gland, but with further development, an endocrine gland breaks its continuity with the overlying epithelium. It appears as a clump of cells, and soon these group of cells, they are surrounded by the blood vessels into which they pour their secretions. Thus the cells of endocrine glands are intimately related to a rich network of blood capillaries or of sinusoids, and also their blood vessels are supported by a delicate connective tissue and are usually surrounded by a capsule. Regarding the structural organization of exocrine glands, all the exocrine glands have basically the same structural organization consisting of three components. Number one is parenchyma, number two is stroma, and number three is duct system. The secretory end pieces and their associated duct of the gland forms a parenchyma. The connective tissue framework of a gland which is supporting the parenchyma forms a stroma. The last component of exocrine gland is the ductal system, which conveys a secretory product of the gland. Depending upon the number of the cells, exocrine glands may be unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular exocrine glands are those containing only one cell as secretory unit. And the only major example in the humans of unicellular exocrine glands is goblet or mucous cells, which are found in conducting airways and gastrointestinal tract. These are the cells that produce a glycoprotein called mucin there, that is secreted via exocytosis. Upon secretion, mucin is mixed with water and mucus is formed. After unicellular exocrine glands, we'll study about multicellular exocrine glands. They can be divided into four categories based on the number of draining ducts, on the basis of shape of secretory units, on the basis of nature of secretory product, or on the basis of secretory mechanism. We'll deal with all of these one by one. On the basis of types of ducts present in an exocrine glands, they can be divided into simple ducts and compound ducts. When all the secretory cells of an exocrine gland discharge into one duct, the duct is said to be a simple gland. An example includes gastric glands and sweat glands. A simple gland is a single unbranched duct, but the secretory portion can be branched or unbranched. And here the examples are sweat glands and sebaceous glands. Sometimes there are number of groups of secretory cells, each group discharging into its own duct. These ducts unite to form a larger duct that ultimately drains onto an epithelial surface. Such gland is said to be a compound gland, and example include parotid gland, pancreas, etc. Depending upon the shape of the secretory unit, simple as well as compound glands may be divided further into tubular glands, acinar glands, and alveolar glands. Acinar glands are the glands which has a secretory unit round or oval in shape, and here the example includes salivary glands. Tubular glands have secretory unit in the form of cylinders or in the form of tubules. And the example of tubular gland is gastric glands. The tubes may be straight, coiled, or branched. On the basis of the shape of secretory unit, the third category in which we can divide the exocrine glands as alveolar glands, where the secretory unit is in the form of flask. Third way to classify the multicellular exocrine glands is on the basis of secretory product. They may be serous, there may be mucus, or they may be secreting mucus and serous, both secretions. Thus, they are termed as mixed glands. So, this is a diagram of a serous gland. We can see that the cells of serous acini are triangular in shape and they are having round nucleus. Their nuclei are centrally placed. The secretions of serous glands are proteinaceous in nature. The cytoplasm of serous glands is granular and it often stains blue with H&E stains. Also, the lumen of the acini of serous glands is smaller when we compare it to the lumen of acini of mucous glands. The comparison of mucous and serous gland is very important to know to distinguish between the different salivary glands. Now we'll read or learn about the mucous glands. The cells of mucous acini are tall with flat nuclei present at their bases. The lumen of these acini is larger than the serous acini. In mucous glands, the secretion contain mucopolysaccharides. The secretions collect in the apical part of the cell. As a result, nuclei are pushed to the base of the cell and it may be flattened also. So this is the slide to show the basic difference between serous versus mucous acini. Now I'll come to the mixed glands which has a secretion both serous as well as mucus. The serous cells are present in the form of serous deminules at the distal end of mucus secretory unit of certain salivary glands, and these diminutive cells secrete the protein that contain the enzyme lysozyme which degrade the cell wall of bacteria. In this way, the lysozyme confers the antimicrobacterial activity to mucus. On the basis of manner in which the secretions are poured out from the cell of exocrine glands, they may be further divided into merocrine, apocrine, and holocrine glands. In most exocrine glands, secretions are thrown out of the cell by the process called as exostosis. The cell remains intact and this manner of secretion is called as merocrine. In yet another cells or glands, the apical part of the cells are shed off to discharge their secretions, and this manner of secretion is described as apocrine, An example of apocrine secretion is some atypical sweat glands and in mammary glands. In holocrine glands, the whole or entire cell disintegrates to discharge secretion, and it is typically seen in sebaceous glands. So this was all about the exocrine gland. Hope you like my video. Thanks for watching. Please do like, share and comment, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. Till then, have a nice day, keep smiling and always yearn to learn. Thank you. Have a nice day.